So this is from September 27th. And I write, I just had 2 dreams dealing with life and dissolution into the infinite. The first dream was this. Me and a bunch of people stood at the edge of the sea. It was night. A great deal of oil had spilled into the water and ships were being set aflame. It was great chaos and panic. I did this dramatic poem ritual to call to the sea to stop hurting the ships. I ran around the beach in great passion saying my poem, but at the same time felt it to be a little bit fake, a little put on. In a fit of passion, I dived into the ocean. I remember feeling peace and surreal calm as I simply floated near the bottom, drifting with the waves. I felt that by submitting myself to the ocean, I would placate it. I floated for a while, holding my breath and feeling the danger of death. I felt a presence which I saw like a great light, which was somewhat foreboding. I began to move again towards the shore, but suddenly a mermaid appeared before me. This was not a nice mermaid, but a demonic, ugly one, which had a great deal of rage, energy, and terrified me. It said something to me, then pushed me hard and fast into the deep ocean. I began to fall, falling faster and faster into the endless abyss. Then I awoke. So my immediate thought about this dream is that, we have this situation of great badness. And I am first at the edge of it, not necessarily subject to it. And I'm doing this kind of performance to try to fix it. And this doesn't do anything. And it is only when I sacrifice myself, when I throw myself into the chaos, that anything is accomplished. So, I think on one level this dream kind of represents my usage of rituals and art, in that it feels good, it's cool, but it ultimately doesn't do what is necessary. And so this is a symbol both in terms of helping others, and in terms of my own spiritual progress and growth. In that rituals and performances can only take you so far. And the real thing is going deeply into the reality, which is itself filled with chaos and danger. Be much more comfortable living in the realm of art and ritual performance, rather than actually having to go into a place where those things are born out of the chaotic ocean of life. So I think that dream is representative of the way that I avoid or escape the important, intense, and dangerous aspects of life, in performance, in authenticity, and in art, in ritual. And how entering into the deep unknown is needed for a life well lived. I think that the second dream reflects the same theme. So here it is. I lived on a beautiful cliff. I had a tiny little bed tucked into the cliff. It was right below the top, nestled in a hole in the cliff only the size of the bed. To my left there was a great drop. It was very beautiful, but also scary every time I was to leave my bed. Atop the cliff, a ways behind my bed, there was a house which looked like my dad's house. And in that house, I spoke to my dad and to somebody else. Both of them told me that their lives were 99.9% pain and gave all sorts of examples of their pain. I kept trying to speak with him to understand. They kept distracting, making little comments about other things, but I kept pressing, wanting to know, understand, and help. It was very sad, and I cried as they told me these things. We were playing with a ball, and it went over the edge of the cliff, and my dad teetered on the edge, in what I saw as a perhaps decision to kill himself, but then a refraining. I then went down to a lower area of the cliffs that was very beautiful, a grassy plateau right by the edge which overlooked the world. There I sat with Sadhguru and William. Note, Sadhguru is this modern-day mystic. He's very, very famous. Sadhguru was there not as an active participant, but just as an observer. I remember looking over at him and laughing because I could see on his face how he was entirely empty of thoughts and simply did not care, while at the same time being deeply compassionate. I told William about my very intense fear of the great beyond, of dissolving into limitlessness or dying. It was such a guttural fear that I screamed just thinking about it. Just beginning to feel myself dissolve caused panic. William tried to encourage me to go into it, saying that he was not afraid of it, but I remained terrified. Eventually both him and Sadhguru left, and I was alone. I lay down on the grass and immediately began to leave my body and merge. Side note, this is an experience that I've had multiple times, many times in dreams and sometimes in real life, where it is an experience of beginning to leave my body and merge into this infinite expanse in which I have no sense of scale or size, but it's just infinitely vast. And it's quite terrifying because it feels like I'm dying. But at the same time, I kind of suspect that's what mystics talk about of samadhi. So this time, when this began to happen, it had a different quality. I heard beautiful music and felt the presence of a great calming compassion. I felt this experience as a beautiful, soaring transition into freedom. I felt this as it came on, but again the fast dropping and expanding sensation came, which again made me afraid. However, the previous feeling of freedom and compassion helped me to relax, and I began to fall faster. I then awoke. So what does this dream mean? So it starts out with me sleeping. So it's like I'm just below the top of this cliff, like nestled in this bed, and there's no space in my room other than a bed. It's a bed in sheer drop. And to get up above the cliff to my dad's house, I walk, or I have to climb up this ladder. So what does this mean? I mean, so I think firstly it very much connects to my sort of feeling of how reality is both dangerous and beautiful. And I write that specifically, that the place that I'm living on this cliff is very, very beautiful, but it's obviously also very dangerous and kind of scary. And so I think that kind of reflects the way that I experience life a lot. That it is very intense and dangerous, but it's also very beautiful and exciting. But then I go away from this symbolic space of dangerous beauty living on the edge, and I go back up towards my dad's house. And these two people tell me how 99.9% of their lives are pain. But then they kind of avoid my further questioning about it. So this kind of symbolizes to me it's like they're not quite willing to go to the edge, to really accept life in its pain and its glory. And they're complaining about their pain, but at the same time, they're not willing to deeply look at it. See the same sort of theme of where I think the one person is hovering on the edge of well, am I about to jump off and kill myself, or am I not? So this kind of symbolizes this wavering between going all the way, living an intense life, and staying within a painful, bounded, controlled existence. So I see that, I see this place of beauty and danger, and then I see this place of kind of holding back. And then it's in my dream now my time to make my decision about what I'm going to do. So I go down, actually, I think I remember in the dream was actually further than even where my bed was, so it's further down the cliff. It's by another cliff edge. And I again see this possibility of experientially going into limitlessness, which I've had before. I've always been afraid of this dissolving into infinity. And, William tries to coax me into it, saying it's safe, but I'm terrified. I mean, I was utterly terrified, because it is truly terrifying, this experience of losing all grasp on everything, of falling into an infinite abyss, which is not only an infinite abyss, but is also the loss of self, the loss of perspective, the loss of understanding, the loss of any anchor or hold. So he tries to tell me to go into this, but I'm unable, and then I'm only able when they leave. And I'm also only able to go into this because I feel the presence of some sort of compassion. And I think this is very key, that one will not necessarily feel safe to go into the abyss unless they have some sort of trust, some sort of feeling of the presence of the divine. And this is the same whether this is about a person who is experientially going into the abyss of ego dissolution state samadhi, or someone who is actually just going deeply into life, into the dangerous, confusing, chaotic aspects of embodied experience of physical life. That if one has a sense that there is some sort of compassion for themselves, there's some sort of love and worthiness, perhaps that there is purpose behind what they're doing, and they have become much more willing and much more comfortable in taking the leap into the unknown. Also, if they have a belief in God or a belief in an intelligence or purpose behind life, then it's not just a meaningless abyss, then it is purposeful.